Hey everyone, it's Haydon here from HeyUGuys. The night is dark and full of spoilers. This video contains major spoilers for Game of Thrones Season 6. After 10 explosive hours in the Seven Kingdoms, we have said a bitter farewell to the greatest season of HBO's fantasy drama, Game of Thrones. We're setting sail towards an unforgettable 7th season. In the meantime, we can be reflective and look back at the very best moments from the very best season. Number 10. Ramsay Bolton, Warden of the North. The developments of Ramsay Bolton this season have been incredible. He has twisted and shifted into Westeros' most loathsome creation, who uses fear as his most deadly weapon. Early on in the season, he proves to audiences, and indeed his fellow Northerners, that he has zero restraint or intention to let his legacy slip by. Father Roose, Warden of the North, and Lady Walder's baby has arrived safely. A young boy, the news Ramsay has feared the most. A bastard by name and nature, the arrival of the newborn boy has pushed him down the pecking order for rulership at Winterfell and across the north, something he simply cannot stand for. Then, in true Kylo Ren style, he plunges a blade deep into his father's gut, killing him in the exact same way the Roose murdered King Robb Stark at the Red Wedding. He then takes Walder and his newborn brother outside and into Winterfell's Hound Keep. What comes next is particularly horrifying as the hungry dogs enjoy a meal. Number 9. House Greyjoy returns. Theon has returned home from Pike after escaping Ramsay's clutches at Winterfell, and he arrives as the appointment of the new Salt King is underway. Uncle Euron tossed Father Balon from the bridge, separating the Pike Towers, and now Sister Yara is stating her claim to the Salt Throne. She should have been named Queen at the Kingsmoot, but an infiltration by Euron made sure that reality never came to fruition. Whilst Euron's crowning ceremony is taking place, the Greyjoy children escape their inevitable fate at the hands of their lunatic uncle. But they don't flee alone. The duo start their own voyage as allies, with the true Ironborn by their side. They set sail to Meereen and join Daenerys Targaryen's quest to claim the Iron Throne. Now the Mother of Dragons has assistants and armies inside and outside of the realm, and she has set sail for King's Landing. Number 8. My watch has ended. Jon Snow's story throughout Season 6 is so rich, so dense, that returning from 6 feet under is a mere technicality. The Lord Commander of the Night's Watch has returned thanks to the Red Woman and the Lord of Light. Despite rising from beyond the grave, the good-willed, good-natured leader still prevails. Sir Alistair, Bowen Marsh, Othello Warwick and young Ollie are stationed in the gallows, ready to face their punishment for murder and treason. He draws his sword and cuts the rope. He hands Dolorous Ed his furred robe and says, "My watch has ended." Despite Sir Alistair so desperately wanting to kill Jon Snow, and somewhat succeeding, he was loyal to his Night's Watch oath. In death, he is relieved. It's the perfect exit strategy. Number 7. The Crown and the Faith. The shifting dynamic between the Crown and the Faith in King's Landing has been riveting. The time has arrived for young King Tommen Baratheon to take charge. Ahead of Marjorie's Walk of Atonement, shame, shame, shame. The King himself has been entranced by the Faith Militant's Commander 2, which sends huge ripples through the Seven Kingdoms. Tommen appears alongside the High Sparrow and his Faith Militant. Jaime looks on in bewildered aggression, Mace Tyrell in utter confusion, and as for Lady Olenna, well, she summarises the situation perfectly. They really have been beaten. Number 6. Tyrion's Dragon Tale. Everyone adores Tyrion Lannister. Not only is he the regular voice of reason and insight, he is also wise, endearing and hilarious. His counsel is exactly what Khaleesi needs if she is to ever claim the Iron Throne. But he knows she could also do with her 3 fire breathers. 2 glasses down the hatch, Tyrion chats informally about next steps with Varys, Missandei and Grey Worm. He comments on the 2 remaining dragons, Rhaegar and Viserion. Dragons cannot withstand captivity. They need to eat. They need to grow. His plan is simple. Dangerous, but simple. Torch in hand, he heads downstairs and into the swallowing darkness. In the flicker of the flame, an assortment of white razors appear. "I'm here to help," he tells the captives. "Don't eat the help." After a tender dialogue exchange, which profiles his youthful affection for the flying beasts, the tension continues to crack. But suddenly, the dragons lean in towards the imp and allow him to remove their chains. It's also capped off with the sharpest line of dialogue in this episode and perhaps the season 2. If I ever have another idea like that, punch me in the face. Number 5. The Waif Chase. Arya Stark, or A Girl Has No Name, has spent much time away from her homeland and her people. Training in Braavos is the House of Black and White, under the tutelage of Jaqen H'ghar, she is forced to endure painful encounter after painful encounter at the hands of the WAIF, her assigned trainer / personal beater. As her developments to become a faceless man advance, as does her slip-ups, and after a desperate attempt to flee the city, she is stabbed and left for dead. Lady Crane nurses Arya's injuries, but soon finds herself victim to the WAIF's relentless hunger and relentless aggression, which kickstarts a ferocious chase sequence, echoing Terminator 2. The white knuckle sequence sees Arya dash through the crowded streets, scaling the cobbled walls, and zooming through the narrow alleyways as she attempts to evade her psycho assailant. With limited options, Arya makes a hand-in-mouth jump for freedom, entirely and deliberately reflective of Sister Sansa's leap to faith with Theon at the climax of Season 5. She desperately climbs to her feet and keeps going, soon leading the WAIF down a slim walkway and into a blackened lair. She collects needle from underneath a sheet and slices the flickering candlelight, plunging the room into an empty, dark abyss. The WAIF taught Arya something very important: to battle blind. We cut to Jaqen scaling through the vast walkways and rooms of the House of Black and White, to which he notices a trail of blood splatters. Instinctively he follows, leading him to the Hall of Faces. The camera pans up with him as he looks at the tower, only to discover the claret sodden face of the WAIF. He turns around to find Arya ready to stick him with a pointy end. The pair briefly exchange before Jaqen says, "Finally, a girl has become no one." There's a pause. "A girl is Arya Stark of Winterfell, and I'm going home," she fearlessly recalls. Number 4. The Unburnt is Reborn. At the end of Season 5, Dany found herself at the mercy of the cruel Dothraki blood riders and was transported to Vaes Dorath. But now it is the time for her to return to her city, to her unsullied army. Ser Jorah Mormont and Daario Naharis have tracked down their queen and have full intentions of freeing her from the clutches of Khal Morrow. They wait until nightfall, when the city becomes alive with distractions, before they make their move. But the Unburnt has her very own escape plan arranged. She can withstand an inferno. The cows are stationed together in conference, and soon bickering replies over what they should do with the supposed queen, barking at her that he and his men will take turns raping her before passing what remains of her body over to the noble horses. Our favourite Targaryen simply cracks a wry smile. "You're not going to serve me," she proclaims coolly. "You're going to die." She pushes over the lanterns stationed inside the conference room and circles as waves of cows gasp for air and begin to melt. She burns them all to the ground in truly brilliant, brutal fashion. A few fiery moments later, the doors burst open to reveal a nude yet entirely unscathed Daenerys. The building begins to topple, but Khaleesi stands strong as the flames roar. The people before her, including Daario and Jorah, take a rightful bow. The Queen of the Dothraki is reborn, and they don't call her the Unburnt for nothing. Number 3. Hold the Door. Characters, both minor and major, die in Game of Thrones, and they do so with unfathomable frequency. Often the deaths are shocking, but rarely are they heartbreaking. Audience have come to terms with the fact that their favourite player in the Seven Kingdoms could be next, but we weren't prepared for the emotional gravity of this particular case. Bran Stark is lost deep in a vision of Winterfell at precisely the wrong time. The Night's King has arrived, and he isn't leaving without a fight. An onslaught of attacks begin as bombs are thrown and blades are swung, but Meera Reed's primary focus is to wake Bran from his trance. Unable to shake him awake, she needs to find a means to connect in order for him to operate Hodor. Bran engages with Willis, Hodor's younger self, sending him into what appears to be an epileptic fit. The trio battle through a dense tunnel, which quickly becomes engulfed with zombified warriors. Hodor and Meera barge through a heavy door, dragging Bran behind them. Meera begins to tow the young warg through the endless whiteness as she calls back to the friendly giant. "Hold the door!" she commands and repeats. Cross-cutting between the enthralling action of the present and the complex vision of the past, Willis's fitting becomes more animated, more intense. He too begins barking, "Hold the door!" as he shudders and spasms. Hodor bravely and boldly obeys, even as the soldiers begin to break through the wood and start tearing him limb from limb. As young Willis begins to shut down, his speech starts to slur and break. "Hold the door!" slowly and harrowingly transitions to Hodor. His death is both tragic and beautiful, Bran's most loyal companion's entire life purpose was those fateful few minutes. Hodor sacrificed himself, and it was portrayed with remarkable power. Number 2. CERSEI'S great game. After firmly being on the back foot for the majority of Season 6, a captive to a cause she wrongfully welcomed to her kingdom, the time has come for her to regain and reclaim. The Queen Mother is about to stand trial for her sins. The High Sept is full of folk, including the Queen herself. Cersei and King Tommen are absent. Margaery's brother Loras is tried for his crimes and commits his life to the faith. Brother Lancel of the Faith Militant sets out to locate the no-show accused. He's lured into the High Sept cellars by one of Maester Qyburn's little birds. Lancel finds himself on the receiving end of a knife attack, but not before he discovers a cavalcade of lime green barrels. He drags his bleeding body towards 2 vast pools of wildfire which are soaking in the cobbles, both with a burning candle floating inside. The Queen notices that something's amiss and alerts the High Sparrow that both Cersei and Tommen's absence is no accident. Margaery attempts to flee the scene, as does Loras, and she quickly commands the Free Folk to do the same, but there's no time. The cellars erupt with furious green flame which flows under and through the High Sept. King's Landing explodes in an aggressive cloud of neon death. Cersei watches on as so many perish. The High Sparrow, Margaery, Loras, Mace, Lancel, even Kevin Lannister, the lot, all burn in bright flame. Smirking as she sips her wine, the great game has been played masterfully. It is such a brutal, ruthless and spectacular sequence, rendered by some of the greatest music ever featured in Thrones. Number 1. Sansa saves the day. Formerly an abused, belittled and cruelly dictated wife by 2 of the realm's nastiest residents, as well as a pawn in the most untrustworthy scoundrel's long game, and an assistant to an accused murder. Sansa has had a pretty torrid time, but in this season she fulfilled her true destiny and became a steely, noble and pragmatic young woman. Her knowledge of the enemy, Ramsay Bolton, and his vast army at Winterfell, her awareness of his cruel mental manipulation, and her ability to call upon an ill companion like Littlefinger made her the most important member of Jon Snow's small but mighty united front. The entirety of the battle sequence in the penultimate episode is some of the best television ever captured and screened, but the manner in which Sansa Stark, the formerly frightened, the formerly manipulated, saves her brother and the remaining soldiers by calling upon the Knights of the Vale is just mesmeric. With their aid, Jon and his men take back Winterfell, the Bolton army is beaten, the flayed man is pulled down, and the direwolf swings proudly from the banners once more. Jon takes his time repeatedly beating Ramsay. He stops at the call of his young sister. She ties him to a chair and places him neatly in Winterfell's Hound Keep. The Bolton had previously bragged that he hadn't fed his loyal dogs for an entire week. Sansa beautifully tarnishes her husband's name, his importance, in a profound and powerful statement, in which she claims that he and everything about him will disappear. Then the sombre tone turns to a brutally brilliant one as a growling mutt strolls in and starts to smell flesh and blood. The hound lunges towards and sinks its teeth right into Ramsay's face, shredding his skin, puncturing his eyes. Teeth thrashing, teeth chomping as Sansa walks away. It is a truly horrifying and disgusting way to go, and it's all too fitting for the most twisted bastard in the realm. And that concludes our best moments of Game of Thrones Season 6. What did you think of the list? Did you agree? Do you disagree? What are your favourite moments? Comment below and let us know. Be sure to check out the website, www.HeyUGuys.com. Follow us on Twitter, @HeyUGuys. And be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for tons of great content. But for now, my watch has ended. Thank you very much indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!